Hi guys, KHCloud here with another Honeymoon review, this time for Stranger Things. So I kind of mentioned in my Punisher review, there was a show that did introductions better than the Punisher, and that was Stranger Things. I haven't seen this one, since it first came out. It's like the first time I saw it was like a week ago. Because I've just been putting it off for various things. And especially once I started the series, I originally wanted to just do more current shows, and over time I've kind of wanted to open it to more shows than just what's currently coming on. A lot of times because I might not always care about the current shows coming on, or I might not want to review them for other reasons, like 13 Reasons Why. But yeah, getting into Stranger Things. First of all, I love the introduction they have. They have this really nice door motif going on throughout the entire episode, possibly the entire series, I don't know yet. But they start off the introduction with kind of panning into a door, and then it bursts open as someone comes running through. And it kind of, catches you off guard, but it kind of ties, they spend a lot of time on the door making you think that this is important, because it is, for thematic reasons. Because later on in that same intro, and also throughout the episode, they have a lot of cases where they do camera pans through doors or pans on doors for various reasons. And usually it's a sign that something is about to happen. Something's about to change in the plot, or something you don't expect is about the plot. Pay attention right now, because they're focusing on a door. Weird, but it's kind of how it's used. Well, it's not weird, but, that is just kind of how it's used. So anywho, they have the character Will kind of focusing on this door, and like giving you this idea that, something's going to burst through this door again. But instead, the monster that's chasing him shows up behind him, which is also kind of tied to how the monster first shows up, where you don't see it, but the guy who runs out of the door isn't the monster, he's just a lab guy, and he's running through this hallway, like constantly looking back, trying to see where it is, implying that it's coming from behind him. That's the only direction it can come towards him from. However, once he gets in the elevator, we see him kind of get pulled up in, so implying that the monster is actually above him. Which is very similar to how the door situation actually ends up with Will. And I think that ties into the idea of there being parallel universes and different gates and stuff like that. I think that's all tied to that door motif, which is really nice. I especially just like how all the characters they introduce, I care about pretty much all of them. Even the one I like the least, Mike's dad, I care about to see where he's going, because they intentionally make him like the most boring, and he's like the only one that's that way. So therefore, something's happening with that. Because if it was like all the background characters were boring, he didn't have much going on, you'd be like, eh. But his character is like the only one, so you're like, okay, so this is obviously tied to something coming up. Something's tied to one of the main characters, 11. I really like the way that they introduce her powers. They show this kind of fan that's making this rattling, kind of annoying noise. We've all kind of had that fan somewhere, like, like someone's ceiling fan, or some other fan where there's just like the bearings are slightly off, so you hear ding, 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 ding. Annoying. So they kind of showcase both Eleven's emotional immaturity, her inability to deal with that kind of annoyance, and also her power of electricity, because she basically just glares at it until it just stops. And like not like a like a slow down kind of thing, like it just suddenly stops, freezes in place, which implies that kind of like dramatic control over that. I also really like the way with 11 they handle her escape from the diner, and the music they choose. They decide to go with Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit, which I think is a really nice tying into this kind of perverted Alice in Wonderland kind of theme that seems to be where her story is going. I thought that was like a really great usage of that. One of the things actually I'm going to address too is one of the really clever uses of narrative foreshadowing they have with Will. So Will is the character that gets kidnapped, and he's playing D&D with his buddies, and he's in his buddy's Mike's basement or whatever. So they're encountering a Demogorgon, which is like a really super powerful monster, and so Mike has the initiative, so he gets to make the first choice. I think he's the only one that has initiative before the Demogorgon, I think is what they say. So anywho, he has to decide Fireball and Protection. He chooses Fireball. I think his target is like 18 or something. He rolls a 7. Now, you don't see that on screen. And one of the characters, later on mentions to him, like, don't tell Mike what you rolled, because it didn't, wasn't successful. But Will, in kind of a way of showcasing both what's about to happen to him narratively, foreshadowing that, but also how kind of a person he is, and like how good of a person he is. He does tell Mike that, like, I rolled a 7, so he would have failed against the Demogorgon, which is eventually what happens to him just like a minute or two later. I really like that. I mean, it's just, there's so much good about this episode. It's kind of staggering, because there's been a lot of really good Netflix shows before. This is kind of, in my opinion, with how good this introductory is, it's on par with House of Cards, which I haven't done a review of. I might not, considering the stuff that happened around Kevin Spacey. It's kind of like a tricky topic, but I do enjoy the series. It's kind of one of those things that's just not very good. So just Stranger Things just handles everything really well. There's another scene that I really, really would like to point out, because of how good the acting is in it, how well it's written. And this is a scene between Joyce, Will's mother, and Jonathan, Will's brother. You can tell that I like this because of how much I know the different characters' names. Like, I don't know Mike's dad's name. I think they mentioned it like maybe once or whatever. But like the characters that they did mention several times, I remember who they are, which is important. Joyce and Jonathan, they're reminiscing about Will, and because he's missing and stuff, and there's a bit of almost like a funeral kind of quality to their talk, but they're obviously halting before getting to that level. But you can tell that they feel like he might be gone forever. And the phone rings, and Joyce goes to answer it, and all you hear is static, and but it's got like a kind of rhythmic static to it, and Joyce recognizes that beat as her son's breathing, as Will's breathing, and that she just starts breaking down, because whoever it is, you hear this gurgle that you heard earlier in the episode when the creature is going after Will, so that wherever this is coming from, however Will is communicating with her, the creature is nearby. And she just kind of breaks down, and she just starts crying, because it hangs up, the line hangs up, she can't communicate with him anymore, but she knows he's alive now. She knows he's still out there, and that something's wrong, and it just kind of all hits her at once, and it's just a really great scene. Winona Ryder did a fantastic job, and I don't know who the actor is for Jonathan, but he also did a really good job in that scene. All in all, it's great introduction. It's one of the best introductions I've seen of a TV series. I want to say it's kind of like a Goonies style horror. It's a bit more mature than Goonies. But if you like Goonies, you'll probably like Stranger Things. So even if you don't kind of like that stuff, I just recommend people watch it just because of how good it is, especially if you're someone who's interested in getting into filmmaking or even writing. I definitely recommend it because it's really, really good. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. I will see you all later. Peace.